The Nolan Wells case and the correlation to Ida B. Wells is a conversation that's circulating online. There is somebody that's a descendant of Ida B. Wells' lineage that is saying allegedly Nolan Wells is not, in fact, related to Ida B. Wells, while others are saying, well, that's not what I heard. I heard from a different source that he is. Regardless of whether they are related or not, whether they're relatives or not, that's actually not important to me. I think there's something to be said about the fact that if you know the history of Ida B. Wells, she is popularly known for her anti-lynching campaigns, and she led a crusade against that in her day. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the Nolan Wells case is attracting so much attention and driving so much activity and opening up the door for so many different conversations. While I know that a lot of you do not want to transparently engage in the reality of portions of this entire situation, no, we don't know what happened. But as that 911 call continues to circulate, I'm going to tell you what people are going to do. As the DA has already decided that they're not going to release anything additional, there's so many different scenarios circulating. There was the initial concept that Nolan never left Horn Island. Now there's a different concept based on that 911 call, or the tow call, that Nolan probably was on the boat, but then something could have happened. And nobody is saying that these young men did something to him, but I think that if there was a medical emergency, if he was overly drunk and then got sick and blacked out, whatever could have happened, if these things be true, I think that it's the manner in which you handle it that makes you a contributing factor to what happened or not. Now, that's my interpretation of it. Now, I know that, again, this is all my opinion, and this is very much speculation, but the point that much of the African American community is trying to make is that when you don't give facts, there's so much room for speculation. And the reason that we're going so hard for this, because I want to say it with my chest. I don't want to whisper it. I don't want to tiptoe around it. There are a lot of people that don't look like me that are constantly posting the same kind of comment underneath all of these videos that I'm posting on a daily basis. And you know what they're saying? I wish y'all would go this hard for black on black crime. Well, if you look at the research, white on white crime is probably at a higher percentage than black on black crime. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is black and or African American populations aren't the majority of the population of America. So use that data to then guide whatever else you're saying in my comments. The reason that we're going so hard is because we know that if Nolan Wells was a white boy and the rest of those boys were black boys, those black boys would be either locked up in jail or on house arrest, unable to leave, passports surrendered. We know that. How do we know that? That is the way of the world. History has proven itself. That's another thing that I want to address. There are lots of people in my comments when I was talking about, like, historically what happens to African American people as it relates to getting justice in scenarios where they are found unalived. You guys don't want me to lead into historical implications, but that is a data point that we have to reference. It's just the same as a hurricane and the damage that it might have caused. Like Hurricane Hugo, and the damage that it might have caused is documented. So in the same fashion, when these African Americans are being found unalive, when these African Americans are harmed, the outcome of whatever happened there, that is now a data point that we can relate back to. History normally repeats itself unless you insert people who are committed to breaking the cycle. And I think that what we're seeing right now illustrated is that there's not really a desire to break the cycle. Now, that's all alleged, and that's an assumption, and that's me inserting my opinion. But I'm saying these things because people who don't look like me are in my comments really being disrespectful. They're in my comments implying that I'm not intelligent, implying that African Americans are reaching with all of the assumptions that we're making. I think the biggest part about this is if you don't look like me, you could never understand the fear that we walk around with every day. And it might not be a fear that's like, oh, I'm so afraid to live. No, it's an underlying fear that we know that we have to proceed with caution everywhere in anything that we do. So yes, we will be going hard about this Nolan Wells case. And in the same fashion, when the murder trial was going on, I was talking about the murder trial because that was something that I was interested in. So if it's something I'm interested in, you doggone right, I'm going to be on here talking about it every chance I get. And because I feel like y'all want us to just sweep this under the rug, let it die down, and let's move on, as long as I can provide an update every day on the Nolan Wells investigation, I promise you I will. Today, I don't really have a lot to say, so I'm just providing my synopsis of where we are at this point. That toll call is sketchy, and that's all I'm going to say.